Again, welcome to the forum. These are, this lists the 5 sessions of the forum that we're going to have. The first one was February 13th, and the recording of that is now at our website, coalition.losalamos.com. Today we're going to talk, we've analyzed some of the county plans that are available and out there. So that's what we're going to talk about today, okay? So this is just, basically our mission statement, what we're trying to do. You've probably seen that before. And these are some of the things that we've done since we started. We started this in November, and we really hit the ground running. So this is a list of the things that we've done. We had our first forum in December, and that formed because of the county's idea to buy that Metzger's property. So we quickly put together that first meeting to kind of talk about that as well as other things. So we've done a lot of things. I would like to point out that second to the last bullet, Cities Work is an organization that contacted us interested in helping Los Alamos with the exact kind of things that we've been talking about. Figure out where there are challenges, figure out what can be changed to address those challenges, etc. So the county council is currently looking at Cities Work. They do this all no charge to the county, and they come in and they've done this through several communities in the United States. So our county council is looking at that Cities Work. So we encourage you to really, when you read about something about the Cities Work project, take a look at that, because that could be a really important part of what we're trying to do. Okay. So as we went through, as we've gone through the coalition, we've taken surveys. We've looked at surveys provided by LACDC, et cetera, and we've kind of identified 5 challenges to local business owners. So what we're going to do tonight is look at the 5 challenges, and you got a piece of paper that lists them, and we're going to, what we did was kind of analyze each, how many plans did we look at? 10 plans, and we sort of looked at what are in the, what is in the plans to help local businesses, and we're going to talk about that today. And then at the end of each, we're going to talk about each challenge, and at the end of each challenge, we're going to ask 3 questions. So that's, don't get rid of that screen on your phone, because that's how we're going to do that. Okay? So this is, you'll see the numbers at the bottom, and this is basically, how do I want to say this? So for each plan that we looked at, so like the Creative District Plan, probably about 8% maybe of the plan covered the complex and opaque regulatory and accountability environment. So that's how you kind of look at that. And you see that the 5 plans, or the 10 plans, really do address local business, the local business environment, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so we're going to do one more question with this little system that we have. What other community plans do you think may be relevant? Now, some of you folks from the county might have better information than some of the rest of us. Okay, so Ann said that all of their strategic plans are listed at the end of the strategic plan, the county strategic plan. Are all the plans we looked at on that previous slide? They were, right? Yeah. Yeah, the ones we looked at. Okay. So is there an accountability plan, ready plan, comprehensive health plan? That's kind of an interesting idea. Regional plans. So these are some of the things that maybe we will let the county know that you all had thought of. And Janice. Janice is a good plan. Trails and open space? So Ann says some of these plans exist. Right. Okay, so in our review, what we found is that the plans actually almost all of the plans talked about the local business environment. So the county did a pretty good job in developing those. So you can see kind of the summary of what we found when we looked at the plan. But now we want to dive deeper into those plans. Okay? So I'm just going to let you read this. Or not. Also, as part of our analysis, but we want your opinion as well, is that we found that the plans did a good job talking about the local business environment, but we didn't. The implementation of the ideas in the plans was coming up short. So that's kind of what we found. But we will be asking you those questions. Okay? So we're going to talk about the first challenge, affordable commercial space and vacancies. And James, I'm going to turn this over to you to talk about.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so we have the matrix up here, and this kind of summarizes what we had identified as sort of the main points in some of the different plans here. So if you are a business owner looking for brick and mortar space in this town, you can appreciate how challenging that is. My personal experience a couple years ago, I was looking at doing a indoor recreation co-op, and part of that is trying to figure out how much space you're going to need for all these different kind of recreation amenities that you want to do. And it was going to be pretty big, right? It was going to be like 20,000 square feet minimum. When you look at what kind of revenue you need to bring in to be able to afford a 20,000 square foot place in Los Alamos, there's very few business models that can make that work. And with indoor recreation, it was just very challenging. Certainly, Alan has worked miracles, getting this place going as an entertainment venue, and this is a very large space, right? So it's definitely not cheap to keep something like this around. So large spaces are very difficult to afford, but for most businesses, they are looking for a much smaller space, right? And there's not a lot of availability of small spaces. So when you think of something like the Smiths, most businesses aren't going to need something that's the size of the old Smiths. So being able to have some of these like smaller, more affordable spaces, when you look at what other sort of communities are doing with like old supermarkets, splitting them into these food courts and having these smaller spaces that are much more reasonable for somebody that's just trying out a business and doesn't have to put up a lot of capital risk for it. So that was my story. But just going real quick through the matrix here, some of the key themes here, right, is identifying these vacant and blighted properties where there's opportunities for development, and then also incentivizing that development. So that could be things like tax incentives. If you develop up a space, getting a tax break to help counteract the costs of that. So various incentives, and then we get into the challenges with anti-donation. I'm sure every business comes wanting help, and it's very challenging to work around the anti-donation. But the plans really do a good job of identifying making it a priority to identify these vacant and blighted properties and thinking about how to incentivize development of those properties. I think that covers it pretty well.
Okay, so look at the left corner of that screen up there, and there's a question. In your opinion, how well do you think the plans address the affordable commercial space and vacancies challenge? So what we're talking about is the ideas that are presented in the plans themselves. Yes, hit the send button when you've answered the question. So 3 and 4 are tied. Looks like a horse race. 4 is winning. So that says basically that people think that the plans address some of these challenges. Now, how would you rate the implementation of these plans in addressing the affordable commercial space challenge? So that means, how do you think the county is doing following their plans? Another horse race. Has everybody answered? So, according to you all, you kind of agree with what we found, was that the implementation is falling a little short of what is stated in the plans. Okay, the last question. What one action would have the biggest impact in solving this challenge? Do you have any ideas for the first thing you would do to solve this challenge? Affordable commercial space and vacancies. I think this will be fun to read. It disappeared? I mean, it might be fun to read the answers. Oh, can you see them on your phones? Oh, good. Okay. It just, yeah, there, it's there. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Yeah. So you're all reading these. So there's just a whole variety of different things that community members think might help to better implement county plans and other things that could be done to help the business environment. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next challenge, which is complex and opaque regulatory and accountability environment. Carolyn Cowan is going to talk about that.
Hello, thank you. Hi, I'm Carolyn. Just want to say, for me personally, I think part of the problem here that's leading to confusion is that the word plan is being a little loosely interpreted here. There is great analysis. There are fantastic reports. They aren't really plans because there's no accountability. There's no timeline in a lot of cases. Key aspects of an actual plan are missing. An exception to that would be the economic vitality plan. There's a great table in there that specifies action items, who's responsible. It indicates whether it's public-private or public-private partnership and the anticipated timeline. But that was missing from a lot of the other plans that are listed. As you mentioned earlier, the Council Strategic Leadership Plan does have a very long list. There's definitely more than 10 of plans that the county has seen and approved. And what's fantastic about that is it is sorted by the responsible party. So if you read a plan and you're wondering, well, who do I talk to about this? That's a great place to check so you can find out what's going on with it. But essentially, that accountability factor is really important. Who do I talk to about this? I know there was one of the plans I was reading that said something about finishing the Canyon Rim Trail. And that plan was from 2019. That item was listed as a three-year or less item. Well, to my knowledge, that's not done. So where's the accountability there? And I understand some things happened between 2019 and now that may have impacted that timeline, but we got to keep going and we got to make sure these items are actually happening, especially if it's listed as a short-term, easy action. The other part I'd like to talk about is the general confusion, and I think a lot of the confusion comes from a lack of accountability, but also if we just go down to the very basic level, as a new business owner, I come to this town and I say, hey, I want to start a new business, right? Well, the first thing I did, and I did this because I wanted to make sure that I was saying what was right, I Google, how do I start a new business in Los Alamos? And there is a county page that says file a business license. And I have to say that's kind of all the information they give you there is file a business license, but that's okay. The Chamber of Commerce, which is the second link, has a fantastic list of all the steps, the CRS, the FEIN, all that information. County page needs a link to the Chamber of Commerce page so that people have all that information, one-stop shop. How do I do this? The problem is, too, there is a self-service portal on the county page, and in a lot of ways, it's fantastic if you know exactly how to use it. I went there and said, I want to apply for a new business license. That is not an option. You apply for a business registration, which terminology, it's something different, it's confusing. Already as a new business owner, I'm a little lost in the weeds because I basically can't figure out how to file a business license. So things like that are the most fundamental level of confusion for small business owners. And it does get worse. The one-stop shop is missing a lot of resources that small business owners need to be able to develop and grow our businesses, from expansions to lists of contractors, whatever it may be, what the regulations are, who is my point of contact, and is that point of contact going to give me the same answer manager? Or are they going to give me different answers because maybe they don't know the answers? So all that comes down to a lot of these plans mention streamlining the processes, making them faster, making them easier. We need actionable items, we need accountable people, and we do need to look at this from the business owner perspective to say when someone comes in, what is the experience they're going through. Thank you. Did I say cities work? Meant to.
Okay, we're going to do this again. We'd like you first to tell us if you think the plans will help or address the challenge of complex and opaque regulatory and accountability environment. So that's the question. So it's clear to me that 3, middle of the ground, is going to be the answer. 2 moved up a little bit, but so looks like we think that the plans provide at least some relief to this challenge. The next question is, how do you think the county is implementing those ideas that are listed in those plans? Okay, so it's kind of the same answer as the first challenge. The county isn't doing very good. Now here's an opportunity for you to tell us what one thing you might do to help with this challenge, complex and opaque regulatory and accountability environment. Okay, has everybody had a chance to answer? So a variety of ideas. Some really good stuff there. Okay. Still two people typing. That it? All right, thank you. Some great answers. Okay, so the next challenge we're going to talk about is the lack of support and access to funding for local businesses, and Alan is going to talk about that. Kevin's going to do that. Kevin Holzapfel, everybody.
I've been asked to talk to this one. So, again, through the surveys we've done, through lots of surveys that other people have done that we've looked at, forums, we've tried to gather a lot of info to form these challenges. And this is one of the top ones that comes up is support and access to resources and funding. I think just paraphrasing a lot of the commentary on that, many local businesses feel overlooked in favor of large developers and out-of-town interests. They lack access to grants, funding opportunities, technical assistance with going after grants. One of the things we find is many of the grants require they're not eligible. A for-profit business isn't eligible for those, so you have to find somebody to actually will work with you that's either in the government or in the nonprofit sector to help you even go after some of these funding opportunities. And other support systems that can help businesses to grow and succeed. And it's kind of one of the things we as the coalition are trying to provide is a little bit of that support system to be able to be a place where people can voice their opinions and say what they think. It's really a challenge. What people say is, this is a high cost of business environment. This is also noted in almost across the board in other challenges that really touch on high space costs, limited space options, and workforce availability. Without equitable access to resources, local businesses struggle to scale and even survive. Prioritizing local business support will help build a more resilient, diverse, and community-focused economy. So in looking at plans, these are just, again, some of the plans. There's so many plans they wouldn't all fit on a screen, so we kind of picked some that really had some of the most applicable goals, strategies, actions. So these are all things that these plans say that should be looked at, and their ideas or even in some cases actions that were conceived to try to deal with improving the local economy that would go right to this challenge 3, lack of support and access to funding for local businesses.
Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing we've done. In your opinion, how well do the plans cover this challenge, lack of support and access to funding for businesses? Okay, so 4. Most people answered 4, 3 and 4, but it kind of is spread out all across. So a lot of different opinions. Now, how well do you think the plans are being implemented for this challenge? Well, we're still moving. So again, it's the same thing. 1, people don't think that the plans are being implemented very well. And the last thing, what one thing might you suggest be done in order to fix this challenge, lack of support and access to funding for local businesses? I come over here because I can't see it from over there. I've seen public-private partnerships on several different things. All right. So you saw those answers. Pretty good stuff.
I'm sorry, you want me to go?
It's okay.
Okay. So Anna is going to talk about poor communication and underdeveloped tourism, that challenge.
Hello. I'm Anna Delane. I own Boomerang. I opened 22 years ago in Espanola, and I found out about 10 minutes ago that I was presenting this, so it's going to be disjointed. I apologize. It's not their fault. It's mine. I didn't check my email. I was at work doing my job. So I actually want to look at this slide with you guys. Sorry if you can't see, Randy. I'll try to stay beside you. So I'm not sure how clear it is about what we did here, but we went into each plan and we pulled out the most salient points of them that pertain to local business, and that's what you're looking at. So the Downtown Master Plan in addressing poor communication and underdeveloped tourism of the business environment in Los Alamos. Leverage tourism for economic diversification. I'm not even sure what that means. Really not sure how you're going to enact it. Action items around that. Proposed branded wayfinding systems. I was actually on a committee a while back about wayfinding signs. We were doing working with a consultant to figure out how to make that work when the national park was first including Los Alamos. I'm not sure whatever happened to that, but we spent money on it, we the county. Recommends expanded downtown events to attract visitors. The tourism strategic plan, focused on improving the economic benefit of visitors and tourism. Okay. Emphasize the importance of community involvement and collaboration between the various stakeholders, including local business, community organizations, and government entities. That's an interesting one. I'm not sure when that plan was enacted and or come up with and written down, signed into whatever, but I have been told recently by the powers that are in charge of tourism and helping with that local businesses don't really have much to say about it. And as a business who's been in town 10 years, I have a lot to say about it, but nobody had asked. This year I was invited to some things. I think the coalition and my presence and my big mouth is getting me invited to things, which is great. So, that had not been done. Maybe it's getting done in the last 2 months, but it hadn't been. Economic Vitality Strategic Plan, recommend creating a support system for Los Alamos businesses by coordinating with existing services and providing regular forums for business owners to discuss needs and issues. That is not being done. I spoke with Ruth Scott today. You all may know Ruth as the person who owned LA Doghouse. The recently changed animal control ordinance has very stiff changes regarding barking dogs. And if you imagine you're running a dog daycare, barking dogs are a huge issue. She closed her business because of this. And she said at no time during the very public closing of her business did anybody from the county reach out to her. So Anne is saying something which I feel like, would you say it again into the microphone?
Sure. The police staff visited her personally several times, talked to her, basically said, found many times she was not in violation, and encouraged and even made some recommendations on maybe what she could do to buffer some of the noise against the neighbors. Her words to us was that she was just really frustrated with the neighbors calling and complaining.
From her side, since I'm the one sharing her story, she felt like expensive solutions were being proposed, but they weren't in any way sympathizing with the fact that the new county regulation that came after she'd opened didn't address the fact that her business was being killed. So, to me, as a business owner, that's rough. I mean, if your newly enacted regulations are closing a thriving, needed business, is there, hey, this is coming down the pike. How can we make sure this doesn't affect you before we ever vote on it? But that's just me. The comprehensive plan, market Los Alamos as a destination for recreation, science, and history. Develop a tourism plan with improved wayfinding and partnerships. Leverage proximity to 3 national parks to boost tourism. Creative district plan, prioritize branding, marketing, and multi-year marketing plan. Propose new attractions, visitor reception areas, partnerships with other districts. Encourage cultural heritage and educational tourism development. So, just in the last few months, I became aware that the tourism and basically that there are people in the community who are paid to help with tourism. I didn't know about any of this. I put my head down and I run my business and I keep it going and I pay the bills and I take care of my family and I do what I can do. And so it was a real surprise to me to find out that there's people being paid for tourism, and they're supposed to be bringing tourists in to my business potentially, which has a very large souvenir selection. And so I kind of got excited, like what's being done and how can I get involved in this? So I went to the visitor center in Los Alamos recently, and that proposed new attractions, visitor reception areas, and partnerships with other districts. We have so many really great ideas, and you've seen them in every slide so far, but the implementation is lacking. And so there's this chasm between really great people and really great ideas. And I mean, the council is serving, like, you guys are working so hard. I know that. And the county workers, you're working so hard. I know that. And you all care. I know that. but somewhere in the middle, it's getting lost. We have these plans, and yet Shanna recently talked about a great idea she had of a new niche market of older people in Albuquerque, and if we could get them as tourists to come to Los Alamos. And I don't know if that's a really good idea. What I do know is that there are people out in the world who know about tourism, who have degrees in tourism, who've worked in tourism, and we have plans about tourism. And so Shanna's really great idea, is it following the tourism plan? Is she acting out the things in the plan? Does she know about the plan? It doesn't seem obvious to me. Another plug for Cities Work. Cities Work comes in and looks at all of this, and they talk to all the stakeholders, not just the county people, but also the businesses in town, and even businesses who maybe wanted to be in town but weren't, and they find out exactly where are the disconnects and how can we fix them. The thing about if I go to the county website and the county, and I'm asking how do I start a business here, and say I'm a restaurant, well, restaurants, you got to go to the Department of Health, you got to go all that stuff. I don't know what it all is, but it's a lot. Cities Work, part of what they talk to us about is put those links on the first page the person comes to so that it's one stop. You don't solve all their problems, but you sure give them links to find out where they do it. They identify unnecessary restrictions, they streamline regulations, or they make recommendations for this. And links, okay, that was it. I just want to make sure I touched on everything I had taken notes on because, again, I didn't know I was doing this. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to play the same games. How well do you think the county plans cover this particular challenge? Poor communication and underdeveloped tourism. Okay, so from this side, I can now see that the average score is 3.6. How about that? I didn't know that before. Anyway, now how do you think the county is doing implementing the ideas that are provided in the plans toward this challenge? Okay, about 1.6. So we're still not doing well. Not doing well. What one action would you suggest we try in order to address this challenge? I see a couple of comments about housing, affordable housing, about the county hiring a tourism professional. In each of these topics, people have mentioned accountability, so I like that a lot. Get out of bubbles. I'm not sure what that means. Does somebody? Okay, a couple more people typing. All right. Some really good ideas there. Okay, the last challenge is what Alan's going to talk about, workforce shortage and housing costs, which I've seen many times on the comments. So, yeah, Alan's going to talk about that.
Yeah, that one it is one that is a big problem for businesses. You know, be able to hire people in Los Alamos. It is really hard, and that challenge, you know, is connected with all of them, and all these challenges are all connected, and all the plans somehow addresses all these challenges connected to each other. And we can see again in tourism how a workforce it is important. Recently, the county created in 2024, I think, the affordable housing plan. Is that correct? And you know, it is actually nice to see that it is producing fruits, right, of being tangible on trying to find how to create more housing, but also affordable housing. Last Tuesday, the county approved a partnership with these apartments to keep them affordable. One thing that personally, I believe that we have to also trying to find ways to create more workforce housing, because that is the challenge that small businesses encounter, right? How much you can pay someone to live in Los Alamos, be able to participate and be an employee for many businesses. So again, it is great that we are addressing housing, and I think the lab, from what I believe, you know, Tom Mason said, it is not hiring as much as they used to, and actually that it might slow down or decrease or reduce actually because of their production now is going to go in production and not in creating the facility. So again, now we have a lot of housing. So it is nice to see these partnerships that we can continue having these places as affordable. And just real quick, and again, I can say the same thing about how all these plans addresses this problem of housing, which I'm glad, and I'm glad that also is being addressed. But one of the, just a quick story. I also own Los Alamos Network, an internet company. And actually I started doing apartments. That's how I started my business, by going hardwiring all the apartments and providing internet for apartments. At that point, when I was doing it, I started with Casa de Luz Apartments. Now they changed their name to Casa Los Alamos Apartments. And they actually working to have their places really affordable, and they keep doing improvements in their apartments, which they are really nice, and they put a lot of money into those apartments to keep them, you know, for people. But so again, that I started with those apartments, Casa de Luz Apartments, and now it continues to provide housing. Oh, what I was going to say is that at that point, the reason that I started doing and hardwiring the apartments, it was because there were not enough, they were not filling their apartments at that time. So they wanted to provide something extra to make it more valuable to be chosen. And now we know that they have waiting lists, all the apartments, to provide affordable housing. So that was my story with Casa de Luz. And with this, with what we've been encountering with these plans, and how I see plans, it is that you want to go to a place and you make a plan, right? And I think all these plans addresses that we all want to be in that place, that we all want to have a more business, thriving community. So again, it's how we follow these plans that already exist and to try to get us closer to our end goal. So thank you.
All right, we're going to do the same little quiz. How do the plans cover this particular challenge? Workforce shortage and housing costs. Okay, it looks like we're sitting at about 3.5. Not too bad. Now, how do you all feel like the county is at implementing the ideas in these plans on this particular challenge? Okay, this one we're sitting at 2.2. Okay, we still have a lot of ones there. Now, what one action could we take to improve on this challenge? I like that idea of going out to other communities to see how they do this. Other communities have solved these problems. All right. Another comment on the private public partnerships. All right, there you go. Okay, so that's basically an overview of the analysis that the coalition steering team did of the plans. I want to talk a little bit about the next steps. As I said earlier, this forum and the February forum will both be at our website, a recording of it. And of course, we will be compiling all this information so that we can provide it to the county or whoever else might be interested. We would love to have you join us. Go to coalition.losalamos.com. You can sign up to be part of the coalition, to get emails, to be notified of things. And we also have another forum coming up on April 10th at 5:30 again, another Thursday. And it will be rules and interpretations. So we'll be talking a lot about some of the different tools that are available and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
This next little piece, if you got to go, you got to go. But if you could take a minute, just giving us some feedback on the forum. Many of you are probably familiar with plus minus delta. What did you like? What could have been better? And or what didn't you like and what could have been better? So
What time is it? Do we have time for questions?
how do people in the group
Okay. We'll have short questions.
Just a quick comment I just want to say thank you for the conversation. I think there's a lot of things that I take away from this that are things that we certainly could implement better as the county. I'm talking about county operations specifically, communications, clarity, outreach. All those things are very valid things that we can have more discussions about and more actions. I'm curious, my question is, are you all, because one of the things I think I heard you all talk about with starting this forum was this idea of creating a dialogue between the different entities and creating some understandings. And one of the things the question I have for you all are you open to having a deeper dive as to why there isn't some implementation? Because there's a lot of reasons and there's a lot of things. I mean, I appreciate people's belief that the county is all omnipotent, but we have our sidebars and limitations, and some of the things implementations are not in our, and I agree with you on the plans probably should have gone into that a little bit more, but I guess I would just ask that question, is there an interest in having a deeper dive conversations about some of those barriers to implementation?
Well, just the short answer is yes, we're completely collaborative and we look forward to working with you.
Well, there was reasons that they weren't implemented, but I respect that. I get that. But at the same time, I feel like to have us asking the questions of why aren't they implemented, I would, curious to know more. Yeah.
What Carolyn said that made me think. She asked about the Canyon Run Trail and why that's not complete yet in our timeline. And the answer is that because of private land ownership. We don't own the land and we can't finish some of those segments. So, but yes, we have the funding. Yes, we're still moving forward. I mean, I would love an opportunity to do a deeper dive and have some of those conversations so we understand each other. And then the other example is, I think, Mr. Warnicki, your taxes, we don't have that authority, but that is something that would, we can talk about what has to happen for that to be even a tool in the toolbox. I'm just putting that out there. I would welcome that more detailed conversation if you all are game.
I think another key part of that dialogue, I think Carolyn's exactly right. That's what we're here for, is to try to engage and try to help. Is there a way to get better focus on making things better and improving conditions for the local business community? I think another thing that is really gets into priorities. It's really hard to understand the priorities sometimes when you see community surveys say these are really high priorities, then you see lots of activity on things that really don't track those priorities. It's hard to figure out, well, what's that about? So I think that's should be another part of that dialogue and discussion as well.
I will second what Carolyn had to say, though. This is, our aim is to be collaborative with all the organizations that are in Los Alamos to support local businesses. We're just trying to represent the local businesses so that the county can hear more, and all the entities can hear more about the challenges these business owners face. So, John, did you have something to say? Okay. All right. So I guess you're going to, is there something happening here?
Willing to do it. If you don't, if you're tired and done, it's okay. But if you're willing to give us a little feedback on the forum, we just have a few more polls to go through. So the questions should be self-apparent. What did you like? What didn't you like, or what could have been better, or what should we change in terms of how we're doing these forums? It'll help inform our future planning.
While you all are doing that, please grab a cookie or 2 or 3 brownies before you leave. I really don't want to take them home, because then I'll eat them. They are. The cookie is a pumpkin snickerdoodle. I sort of combined 2 recipes and created it, so it's kind of fun. It's recording. for your comment.
Anyway, we appreciate the consistency, but what else do people want to hear? We need some more input. I mean, pretty soon this is going to get old looking at the same faces. I mean, kind of old. I always like talking to Anna, but well, there you go, Kevin. That's exactly right. The definition of crazy, right? So I think, because one of our ideas, of course, was that this would hopefully blossom into, hey, what about my opinion, or what about something else? So I think we're not immune to what we're, like, again, doing right or doing wrong, but that would be my big intake, is we need to get some more of the public here to know what's going on.
We definitely do need more people and want more people to be involved and to be collaborative with everybody. And that brings up a good point that I don't think we addressed, which is we were ending up in direct competition with another meeting tonight. Yes, exactly. I was going to say, yeah. So there was a lot that, other people engaged in, and scheduling anything in Los Alamos is always challenging. So, yeah, we appreciate y'all being here, and we do want more people to come, and that more people are able to at our next forum.
So we need more time for questions and open mic time. So maybe let's use this time. If you guys want to stay, we can stay. I think
Free beer, really?
Free beer.
I'm not bringing the free beer.
But go ahead, Janice, do you have a question? You want to say something, Green, or?
I will say that I've spoken to some small businesses who have not signed up to participate, because if they sign up for the emails, they're noted as members of this, and they don't necessarily agree with everything. And so I do give people updates sometimes about the good work that's happening. And they just don't want to be counted as a member. So, there's that. There's other people, other businesses out there too. So.
Please tell them we're an open book. Everything we do is published on the web, and we work to be very open about everything we're doing, publish everything we're doing. We understand not everybody wants to be part of the group, but basically what you're signing up isn't just to sign up to be for email, it's to sign up to be part of the group.
And also, I just got a text that there is some people on Zoom, including Maura from Los Alamos Reporter, so she's following this. And also, there is some people with questions.
They were also doing the polling, so we were trying to count noses or whatever.
But I'm not going to do, because I'm having problems with the sound right now. But Janice, do you have a...
Thank you, Coalition, too, for doing all this hard work and research on all the plans. You've read hundreds and hundreds of pages. So this is work I think you would pay staff to do. So this is all volunteer. This is all your time. And you do it because it's important work, right? And we're all here because we think this is important. And I'm working with the small business community still very closely. I look at these plans. One thing that we discussed is priorities, or Kevin mentioned what are the priorities. One thing the county is doing is there's a dashboard that has priorities and metrics that they're tracking on the plans and what the priorities are, basically from the strategic leadership plan in particular. So based on that plan, there are metrics that are being tracked by what is the performance, what is being accomplished, where are we at with it. So that's something to look at anyway on the county site, that dashboard. I did check out the local business section just prior to the meeting, and there are 5 priorities that are being tracked currently there. So for the local business metrics, what's tracked are ARPA funds, which have been achieved, which is a great result that those funds went out. I just want to comment on that it would be nice to see a report on that, a final wrap-up report on which businesses received ARPA funding and what has been the impact of those funds. So how the business community was positively affected by those funds or not. Just a report and feedback on the $2 million that was funding that went to the business community, which was a one-time thing really from the federal government. So, but this was one example of funding that went to the business community. But what I would like to see, and I think I've heard from others, is how were those funds distributed and how were they used and how did they retain businesses? How did they keep businesses going in a hard time when maybe they would have closed otherwise? So that's one. Number two is the DP road construction. That's being tracked. And what's being commented on with that section, that one priority, is all the construction that's happening and what's been completed in the way of water and gas and electricity and all of that. But what I heard from our last forum was we all saw a video from Ken at Village Arts, and that impacted me greatly. He's been in business for 20 years. He is severely impacted by the road construction. It's his biggest challenge. This is all what he made comments on in the video. He said he was $35,000. He's experiencing a $35,000 shortfall in 2024 due to the impact of the construction. Next year, which is this year, he's expecting even more. He also commented that he's planning for his mortgage, 20 years he had to tap into his mortgage based on the impact that he's negatively experiencing with that construction. So reporting on what has been accomplished with the construction isn't really telling us how we're helping with the DP road businesses, how construction disruption is happening, and what are the services that we could be providing for someone like Ken and all the other businesses down there that are impacted severely. So, I mean, he said he relies on the county to plan the least invasive projects, to communicate, to mediate between businesses and contractors, and to keep a timeline so that he knows. And then so I looked at when the project really started, and I saw that, I saw a press release back in 2020, so this has been going on for 4.5 years. And what the chamber did back then, and this was all new to me because I wasn't here, but one of the ways they supported the DP Road businesses was they, if you spent $10 on DP Road, the chamber would give $10 to you to spend in chamber businesses. So it was an encouragement, it was an incentive to go out there and help the DP Road businesses. That was 4.5 years ago. So just recently we had a the cell service went out, and no, we didn't have access to Wi-Fi. I went out to some of the businesses. I followed up with Ken because of all of this, and I asked him for an update. And he commented to me that, and he's so nice about it, that the communication, is not proactive. He can call, and if he calls, somebody will answer his questions. He hasn't received proactive communication. He has had signage at one time was put out, I think, by the county at the beginning of DP Road, stating which businesses were on the road there, so that, and that the businesses there were open for business, but that signage is no longer there. So he is wondering about the signage. He's wondering about timelines. He's I think having financial setbacks because of this. He also commented that Taos found a way to help business